Welcome back to the garage. Today we're gonna make furniture. I've got some 1-inch square tubing here. We're gonna chop it up. We're gonna make something. Okay. We've got a chair in our entryway, and we don't really like the chair, so we want to replace it with more of a bench kind of style, just an ottoman sort of thing. I've kind of drawn up some plans here as far as what I want to do. It's going to be 23 wide, 35 long, 16 tall, and it should have like a padded or upholstered cushion on the top of it. So I've started with a couple of cuts here, making the lower frame. There's going to be a lower box and an upper box, and weld those together and make a cube, and then put a piece of plywood on top of it that can then later be upholstered. I've got some more tubing here. I've got my Evolution chop saw. This thing's awesome, unlike gauge stuff or aluminum. Works really well. Anyway, I cut up some more pieces and see if we can't weld them together and make something cool. The way I'm cutting these pieces is, I cut a 45, then I lay this piece on top of it, and I clamp it to it, and then I clamp it into the saw. And then I cut it right on that angle, so all the pieces are equal. Okay, I've got my lower and upper frame rectangles made here. Now I just need to make the uprights for them. Gonna cut these at 16 inches, and that'll leave room to store shoes and boots and stuff underneath this thing. So let's keep chopping. Okay, now that I've got all my pieces cut here, I can go over them with a little grinding wheel and put a little bevel on the edges of them, as well as clean them up, get them ready to be welded up. The rectangle is looking pretty good. I haven't put a tape on it to see if it's square at all, but we'll get to that. We're going to clean up these joints first, get those ready for weld. Let's do that. Okay, I've got all the mating surfaces here cleaned up, put a little bevel on them. I got this thing squared up, clamped together. It's now time to bust out the welder and zap them together. Let's do that. Okay, I just welded these joints on the outside and on the very inside, and I left the top bare. That'll allow me to put these pieces just directly on top of it, clamp them together, and weld them up and have two exactly identical rectangles. So let's get those done. Okay, now that I've got two rectangles that are the same shape and size, I went over and cleaned up the area where the legs are going to be, and I've got this leg here held into place with magnets, square and perpendicular. Let's go ahead and weld these guys on. Okay, I got all the uprights welded on there, and in all honesty, I should have probably tacked this all together and then came back and welded everything. They're looking pretty good, but overall, I've got a little bit of a gap here. It's just not sitting flush. I can pull it out and straighten it up and get it exactly where I want it. So I'm not too concerned with it. But just a pro tip: if you're doing this, tack it together and then come back and weld it all up solid. Okay, I've got it all finished welded together here. The welds are looking okay. I mean, it's not great, but it doesn't have to be great. It just has to function, right? Now I've got an old piece of plywood here that I'm going to cut for the top of it. I'm going to leave a little bit of an overhang all the way around. That way, this is going to sit on the floor, butt up against the wall, but there's a baseboard there. So that should allow for the upholstery and stuff to kind of hang over, and then it'll be tight to the wall and not be hitting the baseboard here on the bottom. So yeah, I just need to cut this guy. I need to weld some provisions on here so that I can screw into the wood once it's upholstered and have it done. And yeah, we're getting a little closer. Here's a little weld. I'm going to do a little grinding and re-weld some of the stuff just to clean it up, make it look pretty, make it look nicer than it already does. I mean, it's, like I said, doesn't have to be perfect. Anyway, cut the plywood, see where we're at. Okay, I got those tabs welded on there and drilled out. I just kind of booger welded them because gravity's going to do most of the work. The remainder of the work will be done by the wood screws that'll hold that piece of wood on there. Now I can go over it with some wax and grease remover and spray some clear on it. I did clean it up with a wire wheel just to knock off any chunks of slag and kind of polish up the mill scale a little bit. I kind of like the mill scale look, so I'm going to just clear it and make it work. There's my wire wheel, but yeah, we're going to get this thing painted up in no time. Okay, so I got a coat of clear on this. I had it flipped upside down. Remember, the tabs were down whenever I painted it. I got it a little thick on some areas there where I was painting because it's hard to spray that spray can at such a narrow piece of metal, have such a narrow pattern on it and have it cover. So I ended up getting some runs in it. I don't know if you can see these guys back here. Yeah, you can see those. So I ran down the sides and kind of collected here. And so I don't have a good coating on certain areas, but I've got runs in areas. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit that with a little bit of, this is a sanding sponge for doing drywall that I've had for probably 15 years. I'm just going to knock that down a little bit, and then I'm going to recoat this. I think it'll be all right. We'll see what happens. This is the part that you are going to see because you'll be storing shoes underneath here. So I kind of want this bottom bar to at least look good on the top. Everything else I think will be underneath the stool top, so you won't really see it as much. Anyway, let's sand that and see what happens. Okay, I gave that run there a good sanding. You can see the shined up the metal a little bit around the area, but I think that'll be fine. Let's clean this off, see what we got. Okay, it cleaned up all right with the wax and grease remover. You can still see it though. I just wonder about it does make them kind of more noticeable. I wonder about just spraying over the existing runs and not sanding them. We'll do a little test maybe. Okay, I got a couple more coats of clear on it, and I don't think you're really going to be able to tell where the runs are and where the runs aren't, and it's going to have a top on it, so you're not really going to be looking at it too much. Let's go ahead and put this top on it, see how it looks. Okay, put the plywood on it and the foam, and it's going to be too tall. Like, you sit on this guy and your legs are going to be dangling a little bit. It's going to be hard to put shoes on, tie shoes like that. So I'm going to try and section about 4 inches out of that and see if I can't make it a little bit lower. Let's take her back to the shop and see what we got. Okay, back out the shop here. I've measured this out on all of the uprights and got 4 inches measured out and taped off. Now I can come in here and cut just on the inside of the tape on each of these, and it should stay lined up and should just fall right down into place with minimal effort. So let's get out a cutting wheel and cut those off. Okay, I've cut the 4 inches out of it everywhere. Let's take the tape off, clean these up, and see how well our surfaces are going to mate. Okay, now that it's cut in half, I've pulled the tape off of it. I need to go over these things with a deburring tool and then also a little angle grinder with some 80 grit on it to polish them up and bevel them just a little bit so you've got a good welding surface. Yeah, this one here has already been done. Let's do this guy and keep trucking. Okay, I'm just fitting it up here, fitting it together. You can see the back is not attached, but the front here, if I can clamp a piece of angle iron to it, it lines up really nicely. I like that. I dig it. Some of the cuts are not that great. If you look here, there's a bit of a gap between these guys, but that's okay. It's a beautiful MIG welding, is it'll fill that gap. So I'm going to go through and throw a tack just kind of on every corner, get them lined up where they need to go. Okay, I went ahead and welded it up and ground it down. I was hoping to have pretty welds in here and then just leave them, kind of like I've done here, but I didn't grind the clear coat off enough around them, and so it melted and ran down into the welds and made them really ugly. I've got to come back over this and do a little cleanup on those guys. Some little areas, so I'll come back and weld those, and then I'll probably end up like painting this just to cover this so that I don't have that joint showing everywhere. The bars line up really well. I think it's going to be just fine, but now it just needs paint instead of just clear coat. I didn't like where it was shiny here, where I had sectioned it or chopped it. So I took a little bit of extreme chassis black and a brush and just kind of dry brushed it a little bit. Should hide it. It's going to be in a dark entryway. It's kind of a dark entryway anyway, but I figured that'll be just fine. Let's take it in and see how it fits. Here it is in its final resting place, I guess you'd say. My wife upholstered the cushion on top of it, and I found a boot tray that would just about fit it. You can store shoes underneath there and have a nice place to sit while you change your shoes. This is what was previously there, just this big poofy chair. This is way better. Anyway, that's the end of me making an ottoman. Thanks for watching.